Let's have a quick sip and then we'll get going. Yes, we're back in for another episode of this week's Football Hangover and game week 15. Wow, what a game week. In my opinion, it's probably been the best game week so far. Arsenal versus Chelsea, Arsenal getting that 1-0 victory. Over on the other side of London, Spurs took on Liverpool, with Liverpool just coming out on top. Back in Manchester, Manchester City narrowly saw out Fulham. You know, it was close, but Haaland coming in clutch once again. Manchester United, shock away defeat. Unai Emery, good evening, came in, got the goods, secured the bag for Aston Villa. Great start for him as a manager. Then we move over to what 100% was my favourite game of the week. It was that Leeds versus Bournemouth game. End-to-end action. Leeds rising from the dead, coming back, securing the win. Also, we had Leicester versus Everton at Goodison Park. James Maddison showing why he should be in with an England shout. Then where else do we go from here? That's right, we go all the way to Newcastle. Newcastle were away at Southampton and Eddie Howe sunk the Southampton ship. Seeing off Ralph Hasenhüttl, Miggy Almiron was firing once again. Miggy Almiron, we said last week, Ballon d'Or. I want 5, I want 10. He's taking Lionel Messi's record. And yeah, that was the Premier League for this week. I really enjoyed it. Now let's get into it. The Liverpool-Spurs game, you know, Spurs unfortunately didn't get the result that they wanted. Liverpool came out on top. And you could see how much that meant to Liverpool by Jurgen Klopp's celebrations at the end of the game. You rarely see Jurgen Klopp celebrate like that in the Premier League. And, you know, his side, they really needed it. I think we've got to give credit to Jurgen Klopp for the way that he managed his side. You know, the last 10 minutes of the game, Spurs really putting Liverpool under the cosh. But he made the defensive change, bringing Joe Gomez onto the pitch, pushing Trent Alexander further on. And that kind of secured that Liverpool defence, making sure that they didn't concede any last minute goals. And I do believe if it wasn't for that Jurgen Klopp decision at the end, then Spurs probably would have got the goal at the end of the game. On top of this, I thought Mohamed Salah, he's back to his best. You know, the start of the season, it was slow for Mo. And he was building and building, and we saw what he could do in that Manchester City game. And in that game, that's when, I mean, as a City fan myself, I realised Mohamed Salah's back. You know, he's back to the business. He showed his talent, cool finishes, that chip over Lloris, fantastic touch, finish. Yeah, unbelievable from him once again. And obviously Darwin Núñez playing off him, he can learn so much from him. I thought Núñez was frantic. I think Gary Neville described him as a scrappy footballer, which I quite like the way he's described it. You know, I think if I was Darwin Núñez, I'd be looking at Mo Salah and I'd think, look, I'm playing alongside one of the best footballers in the world. I've got to try and learn as much as I can from him and kind of take his game and see what Mohamed Salah's doing week in, week out training and use some of that and develop it into his game, because at the minute he seems frantic. I feel like, you know, his 90, 100 million pound price tag is really weighing him down. I feel like the kid, he just needs to relax. He's a good footballer at the end of the day. He needs to chill. He needs to stop swiping at the ball and trying to go for goal. And in this game, he showed against Tottenham that he can be an assist man. And you don't mind that when you've got your main man Salah scoring the goals. On top of this, I thought Liverpool in that second half started to get overrun by Antonio Conte's midfield. I partly put it down to Conte's crazy system of playing about 20 midfielders. Who knows what he was thinking in that first half. But the issue I have with Liverpool at the minute is, you know, we always say that the starting 11's great, but it's that squad depth, who they can bring on to really change things up and get the wheels turning for the second half, because I thought they were lacking. I think another issue that Liverpool could find is back to the Mohamed Salah point, is that this is the first time really where Liverpool have the one standout player who's head and shoulders above the rest of the squad. Because, you know, in the past you've had Salah, you've had Mane, you've had Virgil van Dijk, all kind of playing at that elite level where you can really argue who's the best on the pitch. But at this moment in time, Mohamed Salah is by far the best Liverpool player, and he needs to try and bring the rest of the lads back up to his level if they want to be challenging for those titles, those trophies, etc, etc. As for Tottenham, I think Antonio Conte would have found that first half really tough. I think the way that Conte plays, his very defensive style, I think he'll have realised that throughout this game that he does not have the personnel to be such a defensive manager and play in the manner that he wants to play. You're looking at his his back line really. The only player really that's at that elite level is Romero. The rest of them, I'm sorry, but they need to go. That being said, in the January transfer window, Antonio Conte has to go out, bring in a top-class centre-half, maybe bring a goalkeeper in. We've seen, I think I mentioned this point before, whenever these big managers come into the clubs, they want to change the goalkeeper to build the foundations on. We saw Pep Guardiola do it with Edison, Jurgen Klopp do it with Alisson, even Mikel Arteta doing it with Aaron Ramsdale. And from there on, you can then build the squad that you want to build and set those foundations. Hugo Lloris included, I don't think that Antonio Conte will see him as the goalkeeper to build the rest of his squad. And really, I think that will be a big issue for Conte. Second half, different story though. I thought they came out fighting. I think it was great to see that Harry Kane was in the goals, especially as an England fan leading up to the World Cup. The issue I had with Kane though is Kane's the kind of player who needs the runners going in behind off the ball so he can drop in deep, get on the ball, spin, turn it and then catch up with the rest of the players. He didn't have that. He just did not have that. And if Harry Kane wants to be at the best of his ability, he needs to have that style of player around him. Without Son, without Richarlison, he looked like he was isolated for that first half and it would have been really tough for the England captain. So I just hope that Antonio Conte tweaks his tactics so he can help Harry Kane out more. And I'm sure that if he does, he'll continue to go on and break the records, that Shearer record. And then he'll do it all, Harry Kane. So let's move on to the next game. It was Chelsea versus Arsenal. Arsenal came out 1-0 victorious. All I can say is that Arsenal turned up to the bridge and burnt it down. I think that Arsenal on a whole, they showed authority in the game, dominating the ball. I thought it was a fantastic display. Obviously, the goal was very scrappy with Gabriel getting on the end of it off a corner, very frantic. Don't really know what Cucurella was doing, giving his man a hug. I don't know, maybe he just wanted some love and attention. But yeah, Arsenal, I liked it as well. Even though they were playing with the style on the ball, they were changing it up. We saw Arsenal introduce the long throw in, which I'm a big advocate for, big Rory Delap fan. So to see that long throw in come in, I was all over it. I was loving it. And yeah, Arsenal's quality shone through. Arsenal, the top of the league at the minute. They're flying. They're absolutely loving life in the Premier League. But I think come Boxing Day, top of the league. Yeah, next week they'll win. But their tough moments are still to come. The February, the March period is where they're going to have to grind it out, get through those fixtures. If they can do that, then we can start to consider them as real title contenders. Another point I want to make, I take my hat off to Mikel Arteta. 2 seasons ago, we all thought it was crazy, investing in such a young squad. We were thinking, you need to bring in some bigger names, bigger players, but no, stuck with his guns, played for the long term, and now we can see what kind of a squad he's developed with such young talent, which I think can just go on and on for a few seasons. So I'm very impressed. Mikel Arteta finally proving that he can mix it with the big dogs in the Premier League. He's beaten the likes of Jurgen Klopp this season. Now he's beaten Chelsea, Graham Potter. It's huge. Great starts to the season for Arsenal. Chelsea, on the other hand, well, Graham Potter, he looked a bit lost in the dugout. I felt a bit sorry for the guy. That's 4 games now where they've not picked up a win. And you know what Chelsea are like. They love to chuck a manager out, get a new one in. So if I was Potter, I would be getting a little bit concerned. He really needs to get behind his players and ensure that they pull through for him, because at the minute they're just not doing the business. Now, moving on to Newcastle versus Southampton. Eddie Howe, the best manager in the Premier League at this moment in time. What a turnaround he's made at St James's Park and for that Newcastle side. On top of this, Miguel Almiron. I know, I mentioned it at the start. I don't just want him to win the Ballon d'Or. I want him to win 5. I want him to win 10. I want him to take Lionel Messi's record. I think he's that good. 7 goals in 7 games. Miggy, what a player. You know what? As a Manchester City fan in other clubs, I think he's my favourite player in the league that's not a Manchester City player. There you go. I'm going to say it. Miguel Almiron, I adore you. With Southampton, you know, it's tough times with Ralph Hasenhüttl finally getting the sack. I say finally because I look back, I really do feel like the last... If anyone told me in the last year or so that Hasenhüttl had got the sack, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, we saw Scott Parker go for an absolute battering against Liverpool. Well, Ralph's had that done twice to him, so I am surprised that he's stuck around for that long. I think what he's done for Southampton is really stabilised them as a Premier League team, which I think at the time they needed. I think now they need to bring in a new manager that will knock them onto that next level, you know, and make sure that they're a top half team. I think it will be a difficult task. I think they have a very weak squad when you look around at their squad in comparison to the rest of the league. So, yeah, whoever takes on that Southampton job, I wish them the best of luck. Let's move on to my club, Manchester City. Obviously, they beat Fulham 2-1. And what I can say is it's finally the first Fulham game I've watched in full all season. Sorry to any Fulham fans watching. I've got 2 names really at the top of my list. You know, we've got Erling Haaland coming on off the bench, clutch. I mean, he technically scored 2 goals, 1 that was disallowed, 1 that was scored. Under pressure, Manchester City finally have a penalty taker, and I'm so happy for it. I'm really happy for Erling, the team. That boy is just something else. I know we've gone on and on about him for so many weeks, so I'm not really going to touch on him too much, but the main man for me was, once again, Kevin De Bruyne. The way he controls a game and conducts himself on the football pitch is just... It's unbelievable to watch. That man is fantastic. I can't wait to see him at the World Cup because, you know, it'll be a different challenge with the Belgian Red Devils team. He won't have every single player around him being a star, is the same way he does at Manchester City. So it will be interesting to see if he could take a squad with still great quality but a lesser quality than Manchester City and see how far he can go and if he can still produce on the global stage at the World Cup. As for Fulham, I thought it was a fantastic performance. I know that City went down to 10 men, so it made life slightly easier, but I mean, City still dominated the ball. Andreas Pereira, shout out to him for getting the goal, and pretty much everyone that I know getting in fantasy points. Great penalty, great finish, better than Haaland's penalty to be fair, wouldn't say that normally. But yeah, Fulham stuck with it. I think if you're a Fulham fan, you'd be disappointed, you know, didn't get a point out of the game, but you know, Manchester City, they're a kind of inevitable force at the minute, and they're really going for it. I still feel like they're only kind of in 3rd or 4th gear. I still think they've got way more. I think they're going to kick on, and I see. I'm not trying to be biased, but I do see them winning this season by 15, 16, 17 points maybe. So let's move on to the game at Goodison Park where Leicester took on Everton. Obviously Leicester came out on top 2-0. Let's start with Everton, you know, on the losing side against Leicester. I think it's difficult for them at this moment in time with Dominic Calvert-Lewin obviously being so injury prone. And watching on at Leicester, I think they've looked a bit toothless. DCL is the main man, and you know they want to build a squad around him because he's a goal scorer at the end of the day. I really think he's a top talent, top striker. But he's so injury prone, and that has got to be a massive problem for Frank Lampard. I thought this weekend, the midfield got overran. You know, Alex Iwobi's, he got toyed with like the likes of Tielemans, Maddison. I think it was a tough day at the office for the Everton midfield. As for Leicester, I thought they were fantastic. The midfield was phenomenal. I thought James Maddison absolutely ran the show. And I thought, you know what, he was the best player on the pitch by a mile. Gareth Southgate should be looking at him, rubbing his fingers together, get him on the plane, and he's even got a shout for the starting spot in that England squad. I thought the way he can pick up the ball, dribble with it, take on a man, he was phenomenal. Yuri Tielemans, big shout out to him, he loves a worldie. Absolute goal lasso. What a finish, top bins, Yuri, fantastic finish. So let's move on to Aston Villa versus Manchester United. Good evening for the Villa fans watching. Unai Emery is back, and he is back in the Premier League. What a statement. It's exactly what the Aston Villa support will have wanted to see. Home win against Manchester United, and yeah, they were the better side at the end of the day. What a free kick from Luca Digne. The way he can take those dead balls, put them in the back of the net. Phenomenal player. Ramsey, top form once again, driving through breaking lines in the midfield and getting a goal. Brilliant stuff. United on the other hand, I was shocked, I was surprised. I saw the score at 2-1. Coming in at half time, you're thinking, yeah, the United comeback's on, you know. But those Aston Villa players, they really digged in deep for Unai and the new staff that have come in. And I thought that shows a real sign of character for Aston Villa. So if I was an Aston Villa fan, I'd be really happy. I think, you're on the up. You've got a world-class manager coming in. And can I just say, the fact that Unai Emery's come to Aston Villa shows the pull and the gravitas of the Premier League. The fact that a potential Champions League, he's a European winner, serial winner, in fact, with Seville, Valencia. Fantastic manager, wants to come to a club, I'm not disrespecting Aston Villa, but, a mid-table Premier League club. I know they've got the history, but the fact that he wants to come in and build a project there says great things about the Premier League, and you know what, it's great to see, it really is. Then we had Crystal Palace away at West Ham, a little bit of a derby. Michael Elise with that clutch winner. Great 3 points for Crystal Palace on the road. West Ham will have been very disappointed not to have got a point. Palace definitely deserved that win, I'd say. 15 shots on goal on the West Ham goal. They were the dominant side with something like 58% possession. So it was a great showing for Palace away at West Ham. Can be a tough place to go at times. We've seen that last season with the European run. But Patrick Vieira, I'm sure, will be very happy with his squad. Now it's time for my favourite game of the week. They were first on Match of the Day, and watching that game, I was in shock. That was Premier League classic. That'll go down as one of the Premier League all-times. We'll look back in 10 years' time and we'll be like, Leeds versus Bournemouth 4-3. What a game. We start the game off with Rodrigo, great informed player, bagging the penalty, putting it away. And you think it'll be pretty plain sailing from there for Leeds. But no, Bournemouth were back. The thing is with Leeds, they play such a high press. You look at the formation, you see 5 or 6 players darting forward, pushing on the Bournemouth defence when they're trying to play out. And what it does is it leaves the defence very vulnerable. So quite a few times you could see within the game that one ball over the top would get the defenders spinning on the turn and the strikers would be through. That's why Leeds kept getting undone for a couple goals now, you can mention it. And I think the way that Jesse Marsch wants to play is he has the mindset where his game is to outscore the opponent. And, he did it there today against Bournemouth, an opposition that has the similar quality. But against the big teams, you probably got to be looking at a different kind of style of play to that. On top of this, I want to mention Somerville coming in clutch once again. He did it against Liverpool last week. He's done it against Bournemouth this week. This boy, he's the star of the show at Leeds. Coming in clutch, last minute winners. I love to see it. The Leeds fans were going crazy. I reckon that Bournemouth, they would have felt tough, coming away, coming to Ellen Road, scoring 3 goals. They would have been disappointed not to come away with at least a point, but they got undone. They got flustered by that Leeds press. And really they couldn't handle it, so fair play to Leeds. Jesse Marsch has really turned it around there and he's doing a fantastic job. Moving on to Forest versus Brentford, well, there was a whole lot of controversy around this 2-2 draw. I think there were 4 penalty incidents in that game. Inconsistency with referees throughout this game. I was slightly disappointed that VAR didn't intervene more than it did. I thought, like I said earlier, that if you're going to give that one penalty with the Dean Henderson coming out, making contact with Mbeumo, it's the tiniest bit of contact. Football is a contact game. At the end of the day, there's going to be contact. But for me, that wasn't enough to go down and give the penalty. And if you are going to give that penalty, there were other incidences in both boxes, to be fair, where players were gone over, legs getting caught and tangled, and players going down, which probably, if that was a penalty, then the other 3 should have been. So for that reason, I was a bit disappointed with the inconsistencies. the decisions didn't go Forest's way, and I know they would have wanted to come out of the game with the 3 points. I was very happy for Morgan Gibbs-White getting the goal, finally living up to his price tag. I thought he played very well that game. I thought he controlled the ball well, running with the ball at his feet he was fantastic, and to get the finish away, I know it was deflected, but the finish, it was going on target. You know, he got the goal at the end, and you could see how much that really meant to him. He really needed that, not only for himself, but just for the fans, you know, to assure them that, you know, he is a good player. He can get the goals in for them. So yeah, it was great to see Gibbs-White on good form. For the second Brentford goal, I think you've only got Dean Henderson to blame. I thought that he was caught in the kind of no man's land, as they call it. When that ball comes over the top of the defence, and I know the Forest defence shouldn't be undone by that one long ball, so the defenders are to blame for that. Henderson should have a higher starting line. You know, we see the likes of Alisson and Edison do it. You've got to back up your defence so there's not the hole for the striker to then run into. And because he was so far back on his line, it meant Johan Wissa could pull through, chip the keeper in the end, and yeah, get the goal, like I say. So Henderson, your positioning, you need to work on it, pal. So the final game of the day is Brighton versus Wolves. It's a shame I've not got the rest of the lads with me to chat about it, as knowing them would be going on for ages. But it is a shame I've not got them here with me. What a win for Brighton, 3-2 on the road at Molineux. 2-star performances for me. The first one was Adam Lallana. The assist and the goal, it shows he's still got it. He's a talented footballer. I feel like at Liverpool he never really lived up to his name. Hopefully at Brighton now under De Zerbi, he can flourish. He's a great ball player. He's such a talented player, and I'm really happy. He got the goal, he's doing well. The way he takes the ball, crosses it in, fantastic. Kevin De Bruyne like, if you ask me. The second shout out I want to mention is Brighton's Kaoru Mitoma. Kaoru today, arguably the best player on the pitch. He makes things happen. He's the kind of player he's got the grit between his teeth. You know, we saw him chasing down the ball for that, which eventually led to that Semedo red card. That grit, his determined nature, is exactly what you want in that type of player. And we can see as well with the ball at his feet, he's a techie player. You know, we see him with his pass onto the assist, that in close contact, in tight spaces, he can dribble in and out, make it happen. And as well as that, he's got the speed, he's got the eye for goal, he can finish the ball when needs be. So I really think he's a player that we all should be wary of. We should be watching out for him. I thought he was fantastic. Adam Lallana and Kaoru, 2-star men. I thought it was a fantastic performance for Brighton and a great win on the road. Well, that concludes this week's episode of the Football Hangover. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, subscribe, all that YouTube nonsense. Really appreciate it. And yeah, appreciate the support. I'm sorry I didn't have the boys with me here today, but I tried to do my best and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch you next week for the last episode of the Football Hangover before the World Cup comes. If you've been following our socials, you'll see we've already kicked the World Cup content into action, and it's a tournament I can't wait for. But yeah, we'll see you next week, and hopefully I've got the boys with me next week. So yeah, thanks guys.